Batman The Dark Knight Returns was a 1986 four-issue comic book miniseries starring Batman, written and illustrated by comic book legend Frank Miller. Of course, we know who Batman is. He's the millionaire son of slain parents, Bruce Wayne. Bruce realized that criminals are a cowardly and superstitious lot and decides to dress as a bat to combat criminals everywhere as Batman. Frank Miller is a comic book writer and artist who rose to prominence at Marvel Comics in the early 1980s. After bouncing around the industry, he got his first measure of fame by first illustrating and then also writing Daredevil. Through his influence, he transformed the character from a second or third tier hero to a top-rated star. His run blended superheroics with pure crime, making it almost completely different from what came before. Along the way, he created the character of Elektra and re-energized the villains Bullseye and Kingpin. His Daredevil run also inspired the character's theatrical movie in 2003, as well as his Marvel Netflix series. Joining Miller on the project were his Daredevil inker and finisher, Klaus Janson, and his Ronin colorist, Lynn Varley. This project came about because of comic book legend and DC executive Dick Giordano. This resulted in a four-issue prestige format miniseries that focuses on a Batman who has been retired for years after the death of Jason Todd, and the government has outlawed superheroes as a whole. This actually foreshadowed the future for the character, as Jason Todd died in comic books in 1988. The story starts as Bruce Wayne narrowly escapes getting burned alive in a fiery car crash. He thinks this would be a good death, but not good enough. With crime on the rise, Bruce decides to come out of retirement and combat both new and old foes as Batman. When Miller sat down to create The Dark Knight Returns, he wanted to create a story that was unique and unlike anything that had ever been told. In Miller's head, he always envisioned Batman to be 29. Miller was about to turn 30. He felt that he wanted to always be younger than Batman. So he decided to make Batman as old as he could be. In the story, he was 55. And thus he was a little older, wiser, and a lot more edgier than he ever was at the time. Jim Gordon is days away from retiring as police commissioner. Gotham is still one of the most crime-infested cities around, making Gordon's job that much harder. Alfred, after all these years, is still Bruce's faithful butler, who aids his boss once again in crime fighting. The mutants are a gang of thugs who have been terrorizing Gotham City for months. The narrative of the story is told partially through editorials by various talking heads. In a way, Miller foreshadowed a world that exists in the 24-hour news cycle. The new Robin is Carrie Kelly, a young student who is saved by Batman on his first night back fighting crime. Frank Miller got the idea to turn Robin into a girl from comic book legend and creator John Byrne. And he basically told Byrne, I had an idea for a Batman book where Batman was older and crankier. And he said, make Robin a girl, and he drew him a sketch. An idea of Robin as a girl and how the costume would look better on a girl. The idea was so good I couldn't resist it. It just seemed natural from then on. John Byrne himself got inspired to draw Robin as a girl by Jamie Hernandez, artist and one of the creators for the comic book Love and Rockets. In the Comic Book Journal number 76 from 1982, he drew a pinup of Maggie, one of the characters from the book, as Robin. The rest was history. When the miniseries was first published, each chapter was titled differently. The first book was simply titled The Dark Knight Returns, but it was not the name of the whole story. Book 2 was titled The Dark Knight Triumphant. Book 3, Hunt the Dark Knight, while the last chapter was titled The Dark Knight Falls. When the story was collected in trade paperback, it would be then as a whole called The Dark Knight Returns. Each book featured Batman taking on a different adversary. His first adventure has him going after Two-Face. Harvey Dent is believed to have been cured by a doctor, and thanks to a surgery financed by Bruce Wayne, has his scarred face healed. Unfortunately, Harvey is just as evil as before and has a final encounter with Batman when he realizes that Dent is now totally Two-Face. The second chapter has Batman deciding to take out the mutant gang that has gripped the city in terror. Also, Carrie Kelly takes to the streets as Robin for the first time. Batman takes out the mutants in his hulked out new Batmobile before deciding to face the mutant leader one-on-one and ultimately loses. If not for the intervention of Robin, Batman would have been killed. The mutants are all captured, but this will not be the end of their menace. Carrie Kelly manages to get Batman back to the Batcave, and Alfred is there to help heal his injuries. Batman realizes that the only way to beat the mutants is to basically break them. So with help from Commissioner Gordon, Batman manages to break the mutant leader out of jail. He then has a final confrontation with him in the mud pit with the other mutants surrounding him. This time he is able to beat the mutant leader decisively. Most of the mutants disband while others decide to follow Batman and become the Sons of Batman, using brutal methods to fight crime and also wearing the symbol of the Batman on their face. Book 3 has Batman face off against the Joker, who's been in a catatonic state for a decade since Batman retired. And apparently now the Joker is completely sane. Now the media decides that maybe Batman has created his enemies instead of the other way around. Joker's psychiatrist decides to prove his point by bringing him on a national TV talk show. However, Joker uses the platform to prove he's still insane before murdering the entire audience. Batman then confronts the Joker and breaks his neck, leaving him partially paralyzed until the Joker finishes the job and kills himself, knowing that Batman will ultimately be blamed for it. Book 4 has Batman, now accused of the Joker murder, having to face off against the government's only sanctioned superhero, Superman. Superman averts World War III by forcing an armed nuclear warhead to detonate elsewhere, which weakens him. Because of the explosion, blackouts occur, causing chaos in Gotham City. Batman gathers the Sons of Batman and some of the remaining mutants together to help contain the chaos. Batman himself has become a symbol that people can rally behind and causing real change among the people. The government ultimately decides that enough is enough and must intervene. Superman, acting on behalf of the government, must now face off against a former colleague and friend. Superman is still in a weakened state from the nuclear explosion. Batman evens the odds more by having a one-armed Green Arrow hit Superman with a kryptonite arrow. Batman has Superman on the ropes but suddenly drops dead from a heart attack. Meanwhile, at Wayne Manor, Alfred drops dead himself from a stroke, but not before he sets fire to the mansion and the Batcave. Now there will be no evidence of Bruce's time as Batman. At the funeral, Clark attends the event when he hears a faint heartbeat. He realizes that one of the mourners was Batman's new Robin, Carrie Kelly, and realizes that Bruce Wayne is actually alive and well. Superman doesn't interfere as Bruce Wayne, now leading Carrie and the Sons of Batman, embarks on teaching his methods to a new generation. He looks around and realizes this would be a good life. Good enough. Batman Dark Knight Returns was one of the main reasons I started to read comic books again in 1989. This was several years after the main series had been collected in trade paperback, and one of my buddies had it, and I proceeded to read it over and over and again. Critically, this has been received as one of the best Batman stories of all time. Others consider it one of the best comic book stories ever. This book, along with Watchmen, is credited as the books that brought comic books to the mainstream in the 1980s. These are books that could be thought of as true literary works that could be studied at colleges. In 2012, the comic was given one of the ultimate compliments when it was adapted into an animated movie of the same name.
What the hell is that?
They call us a gang. Only when they die by our hands will they know Gotham City belongs to the mutants!
You have gotten old.
Look, one of these days, someone with authority is going to tell me to come stop you. And when that happens...
I hereby issue a warrant for the Batman's arrest.
When that happens, may the best man win. Batman! Come out here and face me like a man!
We don't have to do this.
Sure we do.
me to kill you?
Oh, you're not going to kill me. Now! It took years and cost a fortune. Luckily, I had both. All the years to come, in your most private moments, I want you to remember the one man who beat you.
Dark Knight Returns also influenced the theatrical movie Batman v Superman.
I'll kill her! Believe me, I'll do it!
I believe you.
The saga of the future Batman did not end with The Dark Knight Returns. In 1987, following the events of Crisis on Infinite Earths, Miller wrote a modern take on Batman's origin in the pages of Batman Year One. In 2001, Miller, Varley, and Jansen would return for another story set in the Dark Knight future with The Dark Knight Strikes Again. The All-Star lineup was launched in 2008 with Miller writing a modern take on Batman with All-Star Batman and Robin, the Boy Wonder. This story was penciled by superstar artist Jim Lee. In 2015, another sequel to DKR started publication with DK3 The Master Race. This time Miller would co-write the story with Brian Azzarello with art by Andy Kubert. In 2016, a companion one-shot to DK3 was published with Dark Knight Returns: The Last Crusade. This served as a prequel to The Dark Knight Returns as it features Batman and Robin, Jason Todd, taking on the Joker. Overall, I'm giving Batman The Dark Knight Returns a grade of A. I would hand this trade paperback to someone if I had to explain to them why I love comic books. I recently reread the story and still enjoyed it. I like stories that take place in the future and offer new takes on characters. I'm going to stop my video here as Frank Miller has written a lot more Batman stories in this same universe, but I will get to those at a later date. Just in case I don't get around to doing a video right away on Frank Miller's other Batman works, I'll go ahead and give you a quick opinion on those stories right here. For my next video, I think I'm going to talk about something entirely different. Thanks everyone for taking your time out to watch this video. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment. I've also linked an episode of the Comic Book Chronicles where the guys discuss the best and worst of comic books from the year 2016. Hope you enjoy. Have a great week.
Welcome to another exciting episode of the Kliqnation's Comic Book Chronicles.